Hey, welcome! Welcome to Drakenmemoria. Yay! I know we're late and we have a picture instead of 4 people and a dungeon master. Um, I'll get to the picture in a few moments, so welcome to Drakenmemoria. If you're wondering what this is, well, it's Dungeons and Dragons, or more specifically, a group of people playing Dungeons and Dragons. So if this is not something you want to watch, we forgive you, and you can go somewhere else. Because we've been doing this for years, so we're not changing our habits. And there's a possibility that one day there will be a second campaign, should they complete it and survive it. Well, no, they don't have to survive it for there to be another campaign. But should they
Like next session, the whole party, all right, suicide pact. See you in the next life.
Oh, that would be an interesting concept. The second campaign is all of the character being reincarnated by a druid. Into the next campaign. Yeah. I didn't tell you, but we'll be bringing back Jorg. He's the one that reincarnates you. He's going to be at level 8, and you're all going to be at level 3.
Well, technically, Jorg would need to be level 9, but, details.
He got an object. No, that's okay. That's okay. He's going to be the guardian of the group. He's going to be level 9, and you're all going to be level 3.
And we're all toddlers, and he's really just a glorified babysitter.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. Alright, but if you actually want to watch Dungeons and Dragons, well, then in that case, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you with us. If you're new, welcome. If you're not new, welcome back. For publicity's sake, if you like the thunderstorm in the background, ambient mixer. If you like the battle map, it's Dungeon Alchemist. If you like the world map, it's Wonder Draft. And that's everything we have to say about our picture playing. Unfortunately, Tobiyashi has had a little problem. He needed to take a double shift, meaning he will do his best to arrive before the session ends. Hopefully, he will succeed. Because he had a role to play today. If not, well, he's gonna have missed something to do. That's too bad for him. Alright. So, like I said, hopefully he will be able to get here before the end of the session, but if not, well, we wish him safe travel home so he doesn't get an accident and miss the next 5 episodes because he has a broken arm. Well, a second broken arm. What else? Oh yeah, what happened last episode? Alright, so, what happened last episode? The party exited the library into the abandoned street of the outer walls of the city. Having been seen by many eyes, our adventurer opted for the stealthy way out of the city. Our heroes entered the small labyrinth. It's important to tell the words in the right order. It really doesn't tell the same story if you don't. Our heroes entered the labyrinth of small streets in the city and did their best to lose their pursuer. Once they were confident they had succeeded, they fell back to their stealthy approach. The road to safety was a bit difficult, and several close calls were avoided with the use of clever idea and a little bit of magic. Eventually, safety was reached, and the party was finally able to relax until dawn comes, which is when the apocalypse will begin. So, relative safety. Oh, I forgot to open all of my books.
Safety with your relatives.
You know, Einstein, he's one of those half-dog breed. He made some very interesting discoveries. One of them was relativity. Yeah. I don't know. If you look at this from the Dungeons and Dragons point of view, I feel like relativity should kind of makes for a good spell name. I use relativity. We don't need a thunderstorm in the background because technically there isn't any storm. Where is it? Alright. Ooh, silence. Didn't notice that the storm was this strong. Which honestly, I think I should redo the storm because I think there is not enough thunderstorm in the thunderstorm. Thunder strike in the thunderstorm. Maybe just rolling thunder in the background, but there are some good, sometime 2-3 minutes where it just rain. And if you get here and you don't know, it just feels like, oh no, a channel with a lot of static.
They're here.
Well, you know, it works for some things, but I'm not sure it's going to work for D&D.
So what I'm hearing is at some point in the next arc, we're going to be pulling a child from a gooey mess television world just to prove a point.
You mean Tobiyashi's going to have eaten a small child and be stuck inside of Gnome Tube?
Told him not to eat people.
Sound a lot more plausible said like this. Alright. So, well, Tobiyashi's not here, but he did tell me that Fisher, he agrees to be the human component in the ritual. He never got the explanation that he might blow up, but, you know, that's okay.
That's fine.
Yeah, no, he doesn't need to know. Anyway,
It's not important.
wouldn't be the first time.
No, you told him that he'll be blown
There'll be
up.
another one when we get back to the garden.
No, you see, you told him that he could be blown up, but he thought that meant he was going to turn into like a huge bubble.
Yeah.
And didn't ask further questions.
Yeah.
Not only would
That's
there
on
be
him.
another one, but there would actually be the original. This is a clone, Tobiyashi.
Yeah, we don't need a Tobiyashi clone. Come on.
The Kloniashi.
Wouldn't that be something? Tobiyashi comes back next episode and he realized that you're back into normal reality and he's stuck playing his old character because the clone died.
He could then just make another clone.
He could then just make another clone.
Yeah, but he's gonna have lost all of his objects.
Yeah, that would be rough.
I mean, I lose
Quest
objects
is
all the
find the
time.
ruins of Bahamor so we can get Toby's stuff back.
Oh yeah, that's right. You were told that there could be a third chapter, so one last chance to get what you came here for, or to retrieve Tobiashi's body. You know, could be one or both.
Or, and hear me out, we take a side adventure to go to the now, with the extra evidence, discovered like original location of Honor and just find him buried.
Yeah.
It's like, finally, guys. Jeez.
Do you know how long it took? I waited. Oh no, that's right. You know. I've been waiting for
Exactly how long I waited.
His only friend during all of that time, because he was buried under the rubble, was a tiny blob in a jar. So the only thing he could have to feel the passage of time is a dancing blob. Interesting concept. All good ideas for the next campaign. All good ideas.
I'll play Terry. Toby will play the blob in a jar. It's the mini-me campaign.
All right. So,
what? Sorry. Before we continue, we'll call them the nighttime stories. The time nights. They're like mini adventures that are not related to the actual quest.
Nice.
Well, I was gonna say, if you want next campaign, we could always have it in audience's world. Where the dragon will be the main religion. Damn it! And every day you will look at the sky and be forced to worship audience. So, for some reason, I don't think you're excited about this possibility of worshiping audience.
I'm gonna work out on the farm for a couple hours and then.
So what you're saying is that you'd be interested in me making a Stardew Valley adaptation for Dungeons and Dragons?
We don't need to go that far.
I think we have everything we need. I've honestly always been curious about making a survival game. It's those game where you have to take care of a small family lost in the wood on an island, and every day they got to do something and solve the mystery to get back home. I've always wondered how that would feel in D&D. I don't think you can make a campaign. It would probably just be an adventure. Few levels, that's all. But I'd be interested in trying. Alright. So. Well, apparently, Tobiashi got his cloak. It was an interesting discussion, Fisher. You were there, you just listened to it all. The endless argument between Tobiashi and a dwarf. The dwarf who is a little slightly pissed that he is coming to get his order 15 years late. And apparently got he asked another person to do the same order, because he got the exact same cloak from the queen at the reception in front of everyone. So he feels a little bit slighted because of that. So intriguing conversation, a lot of back and forth. Eventually, you saw Tobiashi who didn't know what to answer, and he just left the store. Then you arrive and you ask them to be the human component. Well, humanoid component in, in the spell. And it was just to make sure that the souls would migrate to the crystal without any problem. And he accepted. Inside of you, you hear Terranad say that's probably a good idea. You didn't tell him he could blow up. Although flightless and brainless are going to be there, so maybe they should be warned that they might end up eating orange sorbet.
Let's not worry about something that's not going to happen. Probably.
All right. You're right. You're right. We shouldn't dwell on unimportant things.
And then I tell Toby, don't worry about it when he asks for that. Sorry.
Yeah, he's sort of gotten used to it. Anyways, he started doing the same thing with when he talks to his own ball. And now it's going to be balls. So that's going to be even more confusing. Alright. So, takes just a little bit of time and you make your way back to the wizard. While you're making your way back to the wizard there just looking at both of you, audience and Remy, inside of his arcane laboratory. So he looks at you, audience. That's your gem.
Yes.
Maybe we should put you on as a backup plan instead, in case your friend roasts alive.
Okay.
Maybe like eyes open, cock's head.
Well, he's going to be channeling the flux of energy coming from a group of souls trapped in a gem infused with highly volatile arcane component and thrusted into a blank canvas made to create miniature world.
Opens his beak and nothing but the sound of fuck.
Yeah, so your machine's gonna be my backup in case something happens to me while you're doing this, and you, Mr. Holy Man, is going to be the monk's backup. Instead, something happens to him. Any last minute advice while handling this highly volatile cocktail of elements? It's your gem. You're supposed to know how it works best. Audience?
Yes.
Yes, audience does know how it works. Give him a second.
Basically, I mean, do I know? I mean, I understand, like, the premise of that we're just going to be, like, I understand the magic behind it. I've created the worlds.
Yeah.
I thought he was understanding the premise of the magic behind it.
What he's asking you is more about the practical use of it, because he analyzed it, but it's the difference between I have a book that tells me everything I need to know, but you've done it. Is there something that's not in the book?
Oh, well, I'll say all I've ever done is just meditated, and yeah, all I've ever done is just meditated, and then I've basically gone into the world after a meditation.
Yes, your curiosity on arcane devices amaze me. You truly are absorbed in... Oh, never mind, I can't lie about this. He looks at you, Remy. You seem to be the one more interested in this, how this works. Maybe you should be the backup in case the monks roast alive.
Well, if I've done it once, I could do it again.
All right. Well, in that case, as soon as they arrive, sit there, and if you see he's about to melt, blow up, disintegrate, be absorbed in the gem, you either grab him and try to prevent it, or you let it happen and take his place.
Okay.
Amy slowly starts looking around to see if there's any like notable, cover or...
Well, it's an arcane laboratory. There's a bunch of desks, but also you know that they can blow up sometime, and if that happens, that's a bit harder to find cover. But hey, who knows? Maybe there is a desk that is sufficiently protected, or a cupboard that is sufficiently empty for you to shove yourself inside and close it right before everything blows up.
Remy thinks for a moment, snaps his fingers, and then proceeds to
Misty step out the window.
He wants to see if he can at least save Tobiyashi if worse comes to worse. So first, I think I'm assuming Tobiyashi would need all of his silk energy for focus. So he's going to tie a silk webbing around Tobiyashi's waist.
Okay. That's easily doable.
I wonder. Question.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything... How big is the lever again?
The lever?
The lever, however you choose to pronounce it.
Maybe a foot. Yeah, maybe a foot long.
Okay, foot long, and how wide?
I'd call this 1.5 inches in diameter. With a big knob at the end.
Oh, maybe I've been visualizing this wrong, but
okay.
Because I thought that the lever was on some sort of a platform that you stuck, or is it literally just a stick that we've been putting onto things?
Yes, it's a stick that you've been putting onto things.
I wonder.
So you can
So is
understand
there?
why it felt weird when you said you put this on Fisher's backside.
Well, you see, in my head though, it still made sense because, like, you could put like, like a rectangular thing with a stick on top of it at the back of somebody. Like that's easy.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of real estate on the back. Um, no, what I was considering though
Okay.
is can I find like a wooden rod or stick somewhere that that is maybe about Raimi's height or somewhere in there,
So basically, you're looking for a thin quarterstaff.
essentially.
Yeah, probably. It's Mage Laboratory. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, easy enough.
Okay. Now this will be the weird part.
Okay.
So I'm going to string some some spider silk around Tabayashi, but then also connect it to the stick.
Okay.
And then I'm going to put the lever on the stick, essentially creating a rudimentary fishing rod. So that if I pull the lever, it'll essentially work like an automatic fishing rod that will super pull Tobayashi away. That doesn't require Raimi's strength.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. It's a contextual lever, so it can adapt.
Okay. And then the final and most important part of this step is before I let Tobayashi do any meditating, Raimi will set up the Liamon's tiny hut with both of them inside and let Tobayashi walk out. So, if it looks like an explosion is about to happen, and making sure that the gem is on the outside,
Mhm.
Raimi can pull the lever at the last minute. Uh, and essentially, even if Tobayashi doesn't let go of the gem at the time, Tobayashi will pass through the barrier, but the gem will not. Essentially protecting them both from any potential explosions.
Okay.
And if it looks like he's going to be absorbed in the gem, it will also separate the two of them.
Okay. Okay. Right. The lever does connect with your rod. Now, the big problem is that you don't know. You're not sure exactly what's going to happen because, like you've seen, it's a contextual lever. It can have other application than its base application if it's used on something else. Like, if you put it on a cart, it essentially becomes a transmission. So, what's going to happen when you pull down, up, twist, anything is, pardon the pun, up for grabs. You're not sure what's going to happen. Something's going to happen because it's there. It's stuck on the rod. All right? In what position did you put it on the rod? Middle? Toward up? Down? Completely up? Completely down?
It's like this will be a situation where if I, because again, if there's a certain amount of like leeway based on the context, like I would imagine that he would want it to be straight out, and specifically like I'm gonna say like sticking out on the right side of his stick.
Yeah. No, basically what I want to know is, because now it's either open or close. So is it If you put it on the middle, it gives you the possibility to open or close. Or if you put it completely up or down, it's the possibility to open or close and go into magic open or close. So this is what I want to know. Do you put it in a neutral state where you can open or close, or do you put it in a state where it allows you to only do normal close and magic close? Or open and open?
I'm going to leave it in neutral because of the fact I don't know what it's going to do. So basically, if it doesn't do what I want to do in one direction, I at least have the option to try the other direction.
Okay.
Or frankly, if this works like a fishing rod, he might actually try twisting the knob in this case, since that is more appropriate to how a fishing rod would work. Just kind of like.
Okay, I understand. All right. Interesting.
Hopefully it won't come down to this, but this is my crack idea in case the worst happens.
And remember, if you pull the knob instead, a sharp pull, last time you did that, it flushed the toilet. So
and it will flush Tobiyashi of all impurities. There we go.
Who knows? Okay, well, that's going to be interesting. We'll see how that turns out. Fisher, you arrive. Remy looks at you and then starts creating all of this in front of you. Puts a little silk around Tobiyashi. Pushes a few desks and things like this out of the way. Make a Leomund's tiny hut. Make this fishing rod-like contraption with a lever, a stick, and a bit of silk. Ties it on Tobiyashi. That's about as much context as Remy gives you. Unless you ask, I imagine.
All right. Okay. Cool.
Where in the beginning?
Fisher is just
You ready?
Meanwhile, you look at audience and he's transfixed
We are ready.
by this little orb.
We are ready.
Okay. All right. So the wizard coming to you, Fisher, is all right. So, unless something happens that's really bad, that's not supposed to happen, you're just going to be there to make sure that if I need assistance, you can give it. If something goes bad, something doesn't work properly, and I find myself incapable of finishing this, he looks at you for a moment. He looks at your head. I really hope you can grasp this. There is going to be a stream of energy going from that crystal, and he points toward a crystal behind Tobiyashi, going through your friend, and then through the crystal in his hands. And then into the crystal on the table, which is audience's crystal. And then he explained a few of the machines. So, press this, pull that, switch this if this happens, do this and this if this happen, and eventually he just says, if the worst happened, you're all gonna have to do this manually. Remember, the stream of energy must stay centered into all of these elements. And although slightly out of phase, it has some mass in this world. You hear Terranet inside of you say, "Oh God, he's going to ask us to grab it by hand." That's going to hurt if it happens. Really bad.
All right.
Go over there. And let's start this experiment. He takes a moment. You hear him say, "All right, bring everyone inside of the room. We need to infuse their soul into the crystal." He looks at you, Fisher, and says, "All right, let's bend a few rules of reality."
Before we start, this is he's going to be making wisdom rolls of some kind, correct?
Who? You?
Toby.
Tobiyashi, yes. It's going to be wisdom rolls.
Then I would like to put my hand on his shoulder, say, "You got this," and cast Enhance Ability Owl's Wisdom on him.
Okay.
So he has advantage on wisdom checks.
All right. I take it you're going to be assuming his rolls?
Yeah, I guess because he's not here, is he?
No, unless he's here and didn't say anything because he was afraid. No, okay, he's not there. All right. So, the wizard turns to Tobiyashi and says, "All right, as for you, you might have to make decisions when you're in there. Just remember, it's better to save as many people as you can and drop a few than lose them all just because you were too stubborn." All right. Based on your rolls for this,
Do we really? I was about to say, do we really want me to be rolling for Toby?
all right, I don't mind. I can roll.
I mean, I can roll. I roll good sometimes, but generally, it's specifically the out of combat wisdom stuff I roll bad at.
All right. Let me just remind myself of. All right, he's got a +4 for wisdom. Sight, medicine, perception. Survival. Alright, it's going to be wisdom, but I'm going to give him proficiency because it's meditating, and if there's one in the party that knows best how to meditate, it's him. So, +8. Alright.
With advantage.
+8 with advantage. Alright. Alright, so you see a group of people entering the room, and one thing you notice immediately, probably Remy 2/3 of a second before everyone else, because they're entering the room where you are. There's a lot of them. About 100 people slowly trickling inside the room.
How big is this room?
It's a mage laboratory. It's got some
I guess, yeah.
floor.
Okay, fair enough.
You know, he bends the rules of reality just for fun. So,
Yeah, fair enough. You know.
so a lot of people start entering, and you immediately start seeing something that's slightly odd. Um, they said they were going to be able to save 20 household, 20 hearts. Um, but you look at each one of those household, and one thing you realize very quickly is the children of these households don't match the parents. None of them match their parents. It's literally as if they took couples and then built them a household, a family, taking people from a very, very wide variety of characteristic. Half of this group are humans. You see two groups are elves. Three groups are dwarves, and three groups are halflings. One group is dragonborn. One group is thiefling, and unless I have miscounted, one group is gnomish. Even the wizard seems slightly surprised by all of these people, but there is a priestess that enters after all of them and says, well, hopefully this is going to be sufficient. We tried to mix as many people as we can, as you might have noticed. We did not take any existing families to make sure that there would be the greatest variety of people. We took couples, but we assembled them families from children of other families, meaning each family is actually made of 4 families. We're hoping that is going to prevent, or at least lessen, the chances of severe inbreeding, because we are trying to rebuild a world with 100 people and not all of the same species. Well, good luck with this. Divination was used, so you have a very wide variety of competence. And hopefully a good mix of healthy people. You do recognize a few people that are of different profession. One is clearly a carpenter. 2 of them seems to be mason of some sort. One of them seems to have multiple professions. A dwarf. He seems
Is
to
his
be.
name Jack?
Well, he seems to be a mason, but also a brewmaster. Dwarves. One is clearly dressed like a priest. You clearly have something of the arcane. You're not sure if it's a wizard or a sorcerer. And as you're looking through all of them, that would be obvious only to Audience and Remy because they're the only one who actually saw the entire cult that Audience has. One of them is part of Audience's cult in this day and age.
Which one is it?
It's a female, so an adult female. So it's one of the couple, one of the human couple. She has a moment where she looks at all of you, and she looks at you, Audience, gives you a small grin. That grin seems to have a little bit more to it than just that. Sort of a don't worry, I'll take care of all of them.
Okay. That's good.
She has a brief moment where she looks up and she touches her chest. So you sort of have this moment of she just either made a prayer to the god or signaled you that she influenced this divination in some way to make sure that one of your cult was a member of those who would be saved. You're not exactly sure which one of it, which one it is. It was sort of a, I made sure that he helped us, or he's going to protect us. It's one of those two things.
You can't help but notice, though, that her at the top of her shirt or cloak is like a bit lower than it normally would be.
The top button is undone. Oh, that's right. You don't have that translation in English. It's a French. The original, if you saw on Steam, there is a D&D inspired game, The Dungeon of Nalbuck. But the origin of that is well, today we'd call it a podcast, but back then there were no podcasts. So but it was just a bunch of people creating a scenario inspired by Dungeons and Dragons. So it's very roleplay mixed with meta, but also meta brought on by the characters, not the players, the character. For example, when they arrive in, he says, oh, we could be encountering this monster and this monster and this monster, and you hear one say, why aren't there any dragons? Or, oh, it's because we don't have the level. So there's elements of metagaming mixed in this. And when they level up, of course, you hear that voice coming from nowhere that just says, oh, this character gained 1 point of strength. And when it gets to the elf, it says, oh, the elf received 1 point of charisma. And you hear the elf go, oh, wow, my shirt feels a little bit tighter. I'm gonna undo one button. And you hear the barbarian says, not the top button. The only thing you hear after that is Crumb. I found it. I found this thing. It was 2 hours long, I think, and I played it a whole lot while I was testing a game. We were supposed to test the floor, that all the collisions were there. And it was a huge floor. We had to do it by walking, couldn't even run, to make sure that all of the collisions were there on the floor. It took 2 hours and a half to walk the entire field. So I played it a lot. Because there were no music. It was the introduction. All you had was a, I think in English they're cicadas. That's the only sound you could hear for 2 hours.
Lovely.
Yeah. So I was playing that in the background while I was testing the collisions of the floor. All right. So you see them all prepare. They all look at you. A lot of them look very nervous, especially the children. The children look at this, and some of them you notice they're nearly crying, and you can probably guess that it's because they're the only one that was selected from their family. So they're leaving behind brothers, sisters, parents to colonize a brand new world made by audience.
It's a whole new world we live in, and it got to stop there. Show Pro is very cracked down.
So the first group gets into place, and the whole thing starts. You see machine that starts bubbling and electricity starting to go from one coil to the other coil, and suddenly something else in the room starts beeping and a few flashes of lights, and suddenly you see this large circle of energy that forms around the first crystal, a crystal that is a bit orange inside in color. The energy starts going through all of those people and into first the shard the two shards that you gave for them to be properly infused in the gem, so that their soul goes through the gem and the shard gets infused into the gem. There's this moment probably that makes you feel so weird, because you notice that everyone in there feels pain to some degree. None of them were prepared. Children starts crying, starts screaming, asking for their parents. The adults do their best to just bear it all, and then suddenly there is a flash, and you see all of those people becoming little balls of light and being absorbed inside the crystals that you gave, and the crystals themselves starts to evaporate into fine dust. Well, it was already dust, but it literally turns into shimmering mist and goes right into the larger crystal. Okay. It takes a moment before everything ends, and you probably have that god-awful feeling of having watched something horribly wrong happen, but also the only possibility to save this many people. That was bad. And then you see the other group of people arriving and positioning themselves, and you realize, oh yes, there are two groups. We're gonna have to watch this once again. Of course, the wizard seems unfazed. He even seems slightly excited as he looks at the first gem and looks at you, audience, and looks at you, Fisher. I think we can call this a success. Nothing blew up. I can see sparkling elements inside of the gem, so your dust got infused. And nothing's left out here, so hopefully body and souls are all in there.
Wait, why am I a dragonborn?
Well, that part's gonna depend on Tobiyashi. Because Tobayashi's
I
the
have
one
boobs
doing
now.
the integration. Well, you're joking, but you don't know what he's gonna roll. And during the week, I'm gonna have to ask him a few questions about what he's gonna have done in which situation, because rolls are gonna determine what he has to play with when he pushes everything back inside the world. Second group of people arrive. They all get into position. They all feel and look very nervous because although they didn't see what happened, they heard everyone screaming and crying and but you all seem, well, you don't seem to want to kill the mage. And the mage is smiling. So things went according to plan?
Or everybody else in the room was replaced by puppets. See, one of them is connected with a string.
Oh, I don't know if I should say this. Well, we all know Remy would love to have this. It's a fantasy of his, you know. Have someone with his hand up his I'm sorry. And it was too easy. I'm sorry.
Well,
All
thing
right,
is that there's technically two places where the hand can go, so you got to pick one.
Interesting. Well, yeah, especially you have to choose carefully because one of them, if you feel something and you want to squeeze,
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Go dissolve a bunch of people again.
So, for those of you who once have had a specialist want to know how your intestinal tract works, this is where that it got inspired from. So, second groups arrive. I keep putting words in plural. I don't know why. That's annoying even to me because I realize it as soon as I'm doing this. No, this word is supposed to be singular. It's not supposed to be plural. I don't know why I do it. So, second group of people arrives. They all take their place. 50 people. Once again, the entire show of light and energy and sound starts. And once again, you see all of those people get hit by so much energy that their body starts to vaporize slowly, mixing with the shard dust and all of it being vaporized and pushed into that small crystal. All right. It takes a moment, especially to get out the screams from inside your head. Just had that moment of, oh, jeez. For From inside of you, Fisher, you hear Terranad say, well, that's wizardry for you. You're not sure if it's supposed to be banned or praised. Two crystals floating in the room. Both of them seems to be intact. They didn't blow up. They have this sparkling effect inside. You even think you see a glow of energy. Meaning, okay, there's something inside. Not sure if everyone made it inside, but some made it inside for sure. Alright, now comes the best part. Integrating everything inside the gem. You, Mr. Monk, sit on the floor. Start your meditation, and he gives Tobiashi 2 gems. Now, will you with your fishing pole?
It's like maybe holds it up.
Well, it says that it takes a little bit of time before everything come in, so I hope you're patient. Because now we gotta watch paint dry. You see Tobiashi starting to meditate. And the whole process occurs over an hour, so for the first 50 minutes, it's boring as heck. Nothing happens. Tobiashi just meditates. He stays there. The wizard goes over the procedure with you, Fisher, at least one more time to make sure that everything is working properly. Oh, jeez.
Silvery barbs.
Which one? The first one? The second one? Alright, well, Tobiashi's gonna have hard decisions to make. So, after maybe 50 minutes, this is when you start. And audience, this is sort of educational in some way because you see what's happening on the outside. You don't remember meditating for an entire hour to do this. You remember concentrating, then starting your meditation, falling into that trance-like state. But for you, it feels like it only took maybe 10 minutes, 20 minutes at most. Probably more in 10, 15 minutes. But now you're seeing from the outside what actually happened. Tobiashi remained there and just meditating on those 2 crystals. And then eventually, the crystal starts shifting in their color. There's something happening. The crystal seems to be phasing in, phasing out. They seem to be starting to lose their cohesion. This is when the wizard goes, all right, let's roast some jelly. And starts activating the machine. Suddenly, once again, energy starts, lights, exchange of electricity, bubbling in the background, and then this stream of energy gathers, becomes stronger, and hits Tobiashi. His entire body suddenly just... And this is when he has to make... Okay, that's not so bad. You see him have this moment of... seems to be able to regain part of his composure for a brief moment. You see one of the crystal starts dissolving faster than the other one. Energy starts gathering. You feel it in the air. It's becoming thick. You feel arcane energy. You feel force damage everywhere. It's becoming thicker and thicker. You feel, well, for those of you, well, actually, only Remy would feel this. You, I was gonna say you feel the hair, the hair on the back of your neck. No, Fisher doesn't have hair. Oh no, audience only has dreads, and he says he shaves them. So, Remy, you feel the
Feathers on the side.
Your feathers ruffle on the back of you.
Suddenly, you feel like he against your will, your body adopts the a wintry posture. All of your feathers just go poof a little bit. Of course, Tobiashi's hair just stands on themselves. It's just like a mass of hair that you just shoved lightning inside of his body. I lost my words. I know how to describe it in French, but the English one just left my mind. So he seems to be doing well for that moment. Immediately you see the mage starting to adjust a few things, and then he looks at you and says, don't forget that, don't forget that. Fisher, make an Arcana roll.
Uh, 18, 22, no, 20, 24 with Terranad's help.
All right. Well, your roll is sufficient with what you did, but Terranad always helps you a little bit more. So immediately you look at the console and you start adjusting a few things. Flow of energy, pulling down this oddly shaped lever. Just maintain it. You feel some sort of resistance. The lever wants to go up, but right now it's not pushing back hard. It's not like you have to pull with strength. But you definitely feel it there. So Wizard looks at this. All right. Should see something happening now. And you see the first crystal completely dissolve itself, and all of that energy, all of that mist follows the stream of energy which exits Tobias's chest and goes inside of the gem that is right in front of him, the Gem of Worlds. And you see all of that energy fluctuating, pulsing, emitting small wave of energy. You see literally things being pushed out of the way. Small debris. You see poor spider was walking on the ground, just go you see a few scrolls on the floor rolling. This thing actually has some mass, some pushback. And you see all of that energy go inside of the gem. It's odd because as you're looking at Tobiashi, it also feels like his body is warping slightly, as if he was having to fight to keep something where it is. Okay. But once again, he seems to be able to retake control. Although he doesn't need to breathe, it feels like it's a muscle memory thing. He is breathing heavily right now, as if to betray someone who is in a lot of pain and is feeling exhausted. Now the second gem starts to lose its cohesion, and the energy starts pulsating from it. And suddenly you start seeing those small flashes of lights. You see the wizard looking at the table in front of him. Something did something they shouldn't have done. And he starts pulling one lever, pressing a button somewhere. And suddenly you see this large mechanical hand falling down from the ceiling and grabbing an orb and putting it above where Tobiashi is. You see energy just emanating from the crystal and starting to be pulled inside of that orb. I thought everyone had been searched for a magical object. Something is disturbing the flow of energy. He looks at you, Fisher, and says, "Can you operate that over there and tell me what is interfering with this process?"
On it.
Arcana
Is that
roll.
another Arcana roll? That is better. That is a 23 for me. 27 with Terranets.
Okay. Your roll alone is enough to have all the information necessary. Terranad probably adds a little bit more worry to what you can read. Because you see this and okay, you have a moment where I recognize this. This is something small. You recognize the information of this. This is something small. This is when Terranad screams it at you in your mind, and you have, this is dimensional storage. That shouldn't be there.
Uh-oh.
It is a demiplane being shoved inside of another demiplane.
Mm-hmm. Someone brought their bag of holding.
The mage look at you for a moment. Nothing. No one had anything on there. Stupid. And he starts pulling other levers. Someone swallowed a gem to try and create a pocket we couldn't see. The stream starts destabilizing themselves. You see small explosion being contained for a brief moment, but it's pushing outward. And slowly, there's wind picking up inside of the laboratory. It's pushing outward. The first layer of this dimensional storage is failing, meaning that whatever is inside is just gonna blow up and take the normal shape it has. Suddenly, Tobiashi is gonna have to hold an immense amount of energy. And there's nothing you can do about it. Ooh. You see Tobiashi's shape blurring. It's like looking at someone's image through a patch of road when it's very hot. This distortion because of the heat, but it's not heat, it's arcane energy that's completely warping his shape. And you start seeing one arm starts to lose cohesion, and he's trying to hold it, but his head suddenly has that and tries to reassemble itself. It nearly completely blew itself up and is trying to hold its shape. His legs are starting to lose its cohesion. He is failing to maintain that excess of energy that blew up inside of him.
Can we vent some of it somehow?
You can try to make that if you wish. The mage is completely absorbed in what he's doing, trying to prevent the inside of Tobiashi and the gem from being pulverized.
Mm-hmm.
It's an initiative you need to take if you want to take this. You have the necessary equipment in front of you to make such an attempt.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it looks like Toby's either unable to or really struggling to contain this much energy, correct?
Yes.
I think I would try to vent a little bit of it, if possible.
Alright. Make an Arcana roll to see if you manage to do this without blowing everyone up.
Don't worry, guys, I got this. Yes. Just keep moving up. That's a 26 for me and a 30 with Terranet's help.
Alright. So you have this brief genius moment, this moment of clarity when you see the orb that has been brought above Tobiashi's head. It's absorbing some sort of energy. So turn a lever, push a button, pull something, and suddenly you see the energy slightly being contained and push upward, just throwing itself inside of this orb. The feel of energy in the room diminishes a little bit. You see Tobiashi starting to be able to regain its composure slightly. His shape is not as hard to keep. Although right now you wouldn't be able to recognize his face because he seems to be boiling from the inside. There are literally bubbles coming up from his body to the surface, making it painfully obvious that he is no longer human. He really is
Carbonated.
Essentially, he's a carbonated ooze. We have it.
He's a carbonated life form.
Sparkly Toby.
You know, I think he wouldn't be opposed to that. All right. You just gave Tobiashi a second chance to finish this properly. All right. The good news is you don't all get vaporized. You see the energy going upward. Tobiashi managing to regain its composure slowly, slightly, bit by bit, regaining his strength. And suddenly, and unfortunately, you realize that Tobiashi is not going to be able to rechannel everything. It is escaping his control. Slightly, a bit, you see this tendril of energy that just arcs from Tobiashi and the gem in front of him and just sweeps the floor, burning everything it comes into contact with. Remy, you have that moment where you... But you see it just hit the barrier of the tiny hut and slide over it and up and somewhere else. Thank God it did disintegrate the tiny hut. Tobiashi, thanks to your effort Fisher, Tobiashi was able to prevent nuclear reaction, you could say.
Oh, cool. Nice.
But he wasn't able to completely channel the energy, and tendrils after tendrils starts to sweep everywhere, and eventually one of them hits something that it shouldn't, and something explodes in the laboratory. There's this brief moment where I'd say you see this in slow motion, especially you, Fisher, because you've learned a bit more about this. You see this tendril of energy sweeping across the floor and going toward one tube something. You're not sure what's inside. And there's this moment of, I'm sure that's not good. Water is not supposed to glow. And it blows and it bursts. I'd say, Remy, you're inside of a tiny hut, so there's no problem for you. Audience, I'd have you make a strength roll. It can be athletic. Because it's just a wave of energy of pushing on you. You're muted. I didn't hear the answer.
Oh, sorry, 26.
26. All right. Well, on top of that, you look awesome. You easily managed to shrug off this, and because you made a strength roll, your shirt tears off. And so now you're all glistening from magical energy around you, and Remy, you sort of have this moment, is this what it would look like if I cast Fairy Fire on audience? But the thought leaves your mind immediately. Oh yeah, Tobiashi, fishing rod. Who knows? One thing you notice when all of that dust settles down, Fisher, you're still there, and most of that blast just didn't hit you. You were blinded a little, but when light fades slightly, you notice that Tobiashi's in flux again. And the wizard's not at his post.
Cool. Do I see him somewhere else? Or is he just not there?
You take a brief moment and look around, and Fisher...
Passive perception is 14.
Yeah, okay, that's enough. Your passive perception immediately catches him. He is under some debris, a fair amount of debris. You notice that he's moving, but he's definitely not in any position to be able to finish this.
Mm-hmm.
And so you fall into that backup position you were meant to have.
At first I go, audience, try and get the wizard up, and then I take over for what he was doing.
All right.
Okay.
Make an Arcana roll. Now you are the main user of this very complex machine.
Easy. This is when I'm gonna roll that. Alright. We got this, guys. Yeah, we do. That's fucking math. 25 for me, 29 with Terranet's help.
All right. Wow. You really rolled well. I was hoping you'd have to do all of this manually, but hey, you rolled exceptionally well. Although the console is damaged and you are struggling a bit to find what you need to keep everything in control, with the help of Terranad, Your roll is enough, but it's not a lot enough. Terranad just gives you that little push of, watch out, this is destabilizing, that button over there, that button over there. And you manage to put back into position. You pull a lever, yank something from the table, and the stream of energy just calms itself. And eventually the mass of energy that was added to this is completely absorbed by the orb. And slowly, Tobiyashi becomes flat. The bubbling stops. And the energy in the room seems to just die down. You look around. You see audience removing the last few debris from on top of the wizard. You see Remy probably half disappointed that he didn't get to test his contraption, but it also means that he didn't need to test it, so that's not bad also.
And is hovering over the lever.
Wanted to do it anyway.
Let's do it anyway.
Be ashamed to go through and design this whole thing for it to never.
Hey, Fisher rolled so well on every single roll. It's not customary for you to roll this well.
No, I stuck with the same die. I got 12, 15, 18, 17.
I had so much planned for catastrophic failure, but you didn't fail anything. All right.
See, it wasn't wisdom rolls.
Yeah. You just
Somebody else made the
I
wisdom.
got the intelligence ones.
Everything dies down. The gem is intact. And then you hear the wizard go. No, Mr. Machine. How did you like your first attempt at violating the fabric of reality?
Honestly, that was pretty dope.
Yeah, you may actually...
And real quick, I go, Terranad, you got the left hand. High five.
All right, well, it took a little bit of improvising skill to get that right. You may actually really be alive, Mr. Machine. Now then, I think you should probably rest. I think your friend started without you. He's slowly turning into a puddle. I hope that's normal for him.
Maybe we'll find potentially an intact bucket.
Yeah.
And
it's a lot harder to
like
carry your passed out friends to bed when they're a liquid.
Yeah, just collecting the remnants of his husband and start.
No, but now you know he might be interesting in bed. You just learned that he can be carbonized. You just have to shove enough magic inside of him.
Oh, he'll have enough magic inside of him. All right.
I was gonna say that sounds like a euphemism.
Let's try a variant of Mage Hand.
So, by the way, when I went to the wizard, was he just like knocked out? Or was he?
No, he just wasn't strong enough to push out of all the debris. He has minor injuries, mostly bruises, but he's still conscious. He just took a bad blow to the head and might have a hairline fracture on the rib, but other than that, he's alive and well.
All right, I'll help him. I'll pull the debris off of him and help him up then.
The wizard had to make a strength save. That's what happened.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
He's just holding his side. So, well, tell me how everything went. Tell me if everyone's safe inside of your gem. You can take a little bit of time to rest. That's what I'm gonna do, and welcome to what it means to be a wizard in times of war.
It seems as though I'll look over at Fisher. I don't really know. It seems as though everything looks good.
I think it could have gone better, but something worked. I mean, you'll have to look to see what the result ended up, but
Well, asking your friend would probably be the easy way to figure this out, but it looks like he's unconscious. At least, I think we can say we got 50% of the population inside. That's always
yeah, I'd agree with that. Hopefully more, but
Yeah.
we didn't blow up everybody else, so
There are survivors in there.
yeah.
Well then, Mr. Audience, you have now become the keeper of maybe
The keeper of souls.
the only thing which is going to survive all of this from our city.
That is true.
You know that the queen will find a way to kill you if you mess this up.
Yeah, I'll make sure to keep the people in it alive. Did you make the other device, by the way, that I asked you about?
Oh yeah. The let's call it Privacy Buster. Here we go. It looks like a small wand with looks like a indigo colored stone at the end of it. Lozenge shape, maybe the size of your thumb. All right. Well, all you need to do is use it in front of her. And if there is a magical birthmark stuck on her, it should appear. It would also take deeper readings deep inside of her body. And it will tell you everything you need to know from the inside out. Now, fair warning, you wanted this thing to go deep and fish for things which may be hidden. So
I didn't laugh.
So it might sting a little. It's definitely not something you can do discreetly anyway.
Okay.
Mr. Machine over there will be able to read the information that this wand will drudge from her soul. So good luck with that. I'd probably try and wear that stone that you just made around your neck, just as a reminder to not kill you.
Okay. I will make sure.
Now, I have a priestess to go visit. And maybe I'll choose one of those priestess that used to give these very interesting baths. That might actually be the last night I have on this world. And he starts leaving the room. Painfully, slowly. Leaving all of you alone in this room with a half-baked laboratory.
Mm-hmm. What time of day is it?
Right now you're probably close to, I'd say, 7 or 8 in the afternoon.
Okay. What's up, guys?
All right.
You got Toby all up in that bucket?
Remy, thumbs up.
Well, actually,
Good job, team.
Actually, Remy, you know that this is called a pail. So.
Well, now the wizard's gone, I'm going to take some time to freely snoop around.
You hear Terranut inside of you say, "Oh yeah, sure. That's always a good idea. Let's hope he doesn't come back too soon." What about the rest of you?
I mean, I got the thing I wanted from the wizard. I want to go, but
Okay.
if Fisher's doing something else, I kind of need Fisher to do his thing. So.
Well, you know that there's going to be a meeting in the morning, so
I guess, did you want to do that tonight, audience?
Up to you. You're the one going to be doing more of it, so.
I mean, sure, but I feel like I'm not going to be the one doing the hard part, which is, convincing her to do it in the first place.
I mean, I'm fine to do it. I'm not that stressed about it.
all right. Well, I'm gonna let you decide on what you do during the break because I didn't
All right.
realize that all of this took this much time.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Go back to this sound, and we will be back in 15 minutes. Have a good break. Bye. welcome back. It's a pleasure to have you with us. I know that it was a long break. Well, not really. It was 45 seconds longer than it should have been. So, if that was enough to dissuade you from staying, well, I understand. I don't agree with it, but I understand. All right. So, well, apparently Fisher decided to stay and snoop in the laboratory. Oh yeah, we don't need the marsh. So. All right. Did he leave us a message? No. All right, so. Alright, well, we know that Fisher is gonna. Fisher said he was going to follow you, isn't that it? Audience?
Yes.
Alright.
did.
So, Fisher said he was gonna follow you. So, I guess it's gonna be entirely on you to convince Kalina to strip.
That's okay. I assumed it was going to be entirely on me to convince anyway.
Now, you have two ways of doing this. You can do this the diplomatic way or the anime way.
I think I'm going to stick with the fanatic on this one. I feel like I have a higher rate of success.
A handful of people out there, probably none of those that are actually watching us, probably just went and said, I know which anime you're talking about. Alright. So, it's not going to be very hard finding her. Especially if you start showing that gem everywhere, and you can probably easily convince a guard that you're there to show her the progress of this endeavor and the fact that it works.
Yep.
So, it's easy to find her. Just for fun, just to know how long it takes, not if you find her. Let's go with an investigation roll. Just to know how long it takes.
Sure. Roll bad. No, I'll take it 13. I want to get my bad rolls out of the way now.
Okay.
12. It's fine.
All right. Well,
12 fine.
The problem is not finding her. The problem is finding a guard. Yeah, there's just never one when you need one.
Yeah.
Then you find one and you ask him, "Oh no, I'm a wall guard. I'm not a castle guard." And it's not my department.
I stick him in the wall.
Why? What did I do wrong?
You said you were a wall guard. Now you're guarding the wall.
So you leave someone. You're muted, Remy.
Oh no, I just unmuted myself.
Okay.
Just to say, it's just like he created the first living wall. It's all audience's fault.
Well, I was gonna.
I think that required me killing the guy.
I was gonna make a wedgie joke, but yours good also. All right. So it takes a little while. You find a guard, and then there's this match of ping pong of you going one place and then another and then another, and eventually you find yourself in the right room. Smaller room with a large balcony. It looks like a well, we'd call it a living room. So
Alright.
but in those time it was more like a reception hall. But But yeah.
Is it just Kalina, or are there other people with her?
Well, she's the queen, so there is always at least one guard in the room and two outside.
Okay, that's fine.
She's on the balcony. She's looking outside.
Okay. I will, Kalina, kind of call out so she knows I'm there.
Yes, I heard you entering.
Okay.
I lean over and whispered on audience, Your Highness.
Yeah, we were on a first name basis before. We can be on a first name basis now. I don't think I called her princess.
Well, that's because you always known her by her name, and when you had confirmation she was a princess.
Besides, I'm sure it pisses off the guards that I'm so familiar with her, so which makes me happy.
Okay, yo, what up, my royal?
Yeah,
How
call her
are
by
they
her first
hanging?
name and then ask her to strip for me. Come on, man, you're not on my level. No. All right. I will say. I was wondering if we could have a private conversation.
Private. Well, there are a level of privacy. They're only my personal guard here right now.
Okay. I mean, if you're comfortable with hearing this, I guess.
You know, it really depends on what you're here to ask.
It's
I can
personal stuff.
She turns around, looks at her guards. You see the guard that you saw. You see him leave. Then, out of nowhere, you see another guard appearing and leaving. Then she says, "The only one left is my personal maid."
Okay, she's fine. Okay, well, first off, the good news before the other news. Good news is the gem worked. Not I'm not sure. There were definitely complications, but the wizard confirmed that there is at least half, if not more than half, of the population survived the transfer. So some of your people are safe, and I will do my best to continue to take care of them. And I grieve for the ones, if there were any that were lost. We couldn't tell how many were, or if any were lost. It depends on Toby, who's kind of unconscious right now. He was trying to hold it all together.
That is a good news, bad news situation. Hopefully, Tobiyashi was able to keep his focus and save as many as he could. I've heard that one of the member of your follower made it into the group. I hope she was one of the survivors.
Well, I'm sure she would have been the first one Toby would have dropped if he could, but I don't know if it
worked. One of them tried to smuggle in some form of dimensional storage, which almost caused the entire experiment to fail in a rather catastrophic manner, but
A rather large explosion.
we were able to avert that for the most part.
Barely, but yes. Thanks to Fisher here. And the wizard. I'll give some credit to the wizard as well.
Well then, Fisher, it looks like your legend keeps on growing.
Alright, to the matter, I'm going to be frank with you, because I know you're not someone who wants information held back. And I'll basically go through what we discovered through the books and the scribes. And basically, yeah, I'm not going to try and hide any information from her because I don't think that that's fair to her. And also I think she's someone who would, as I said to the wizard, would like to know all the information, would be angry at me if I didn't. So I will say all the information. I'll be like, I can understand if it'd make you uncomfortable to strip for someone with, like me. So that's why I brought Fisher, because we want to see if what the markings say, and I had the wizard create a device for that. So he's the only other one that knows, and the scribe who figured it out. But we wanted to test and see if any of this is true, or if any of it is true, what's the truth. So I was hoping you would let Fisher test you with the magical device to see where the actual truth lies. But it's up to you. I'm not going to push this if you don't want to.
And why do you need to know this?
I assume you would want to know. Well, I'll be honest, it would help us to know if you come from a dragon. And also I assumed you would just want to know yourself where your lineage lies. What is possible through that lineage.
Make a persuasion roll, and I'll give you advantage. She appreciates your honesty.
Pretty good. 27.
Nice. Attaboy.
Well, I can spare you one problem. When I was to be married to a young noble, I was vetted by many, many sorcerers and priests. I can tell you that I am my mother's daughter. But if you still wish to make the other test...
Well, do you have a birthmark that you know of? If you don't have a magical birthmark, then it's a confirmed that you are your mother's daughter. So we can confirm that that is the case if you do not have a magical birthmark. But if you have any birthmark, even if it's small, that you've ever noticed or known about, then we should test that.
No, I do not have any birthmark. And if I understand correctly, this means there is a chance that according to your information that I am not my mother's child, but that was confirmed. Okay. My mother did bear child.
Which we guessed could have been possible through a potential wish or something else. But as you know the information as well as I think it's still, if you're if you don't have, then we should still do the test. But again, it's up to you. I think we should still do the test. It's up to you if you want to go through with it. I will step out of the room, and Fisher can
Well,
do the test.
seeing as removing my clothes would be superfluous, I guess you can stay in the room. Fisher can still make the test.
Okay. Fisher, you're up.
All right.
It works like a wand, so it's fairly easy to use.
Abracadabra.
I want you to be kind of like more like airport security, just very clinical about this, just like
Just T-pose for me real quick.
right around the crotch area, just like whoa, something's going on down here.
Whoa there!
Magical jewelry, you know.
I didn't know you got a magical piercing down. Wait, never mind. All right.
Hey, it's Dungeons and Dragons. Any piercing can be magical in here.
That's true. Honestly, not gonna lie, could be a pretty sweet place to have a hidden magical like backup plan.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is a pretty convenient place, I guess, to put a ring of protection. Nobody will know you're wearing it.
Okay.
And before you ask, yes, I mean that in two different ways.
So, I was thinking about the globe of invulnerability. So
Audience still feels a little awkward, so he's gonna go and stand by the maid and just be like, "So come here often."
she looks at you for a moment. She's my only task. I've been following her since she was born.
I see.
I'm done.
Good talk.
Yeah, okay. she really looks at you for a moment. Is this the... You know, with that look in his eyes, is this the hero of legend?
Shrug.
Never meet your heroes, kids.
Listen, audience did keep himself from saying "Wow, stalker" much, so he's maturing slightly in her response to that.
Slightly.
Growing up.
He is
Grow up
getting
so
some
fast.
form of filter.
Well, you know, you did age a whole year in total. You know, you're no longer 15. You're 16 years old.
Yeah,
You
the
drive that.
filter is starting to come into play.
Barely.
Barely.
Alright. So, you look at the result, Fisher. And... Well, it's partially what you wanted, it's partially what you didn't want, and it's mostly nothing that helps.
Yeah.
She's not a god. She's not a half god. But there is a lingering trace of divine energy inside of her. Not strong enough to be a half god, but you'd say with a decent arcana roll.
Well, it had to happen at some point. That is an 11 for me, and a 15 with Terranet's help.
Well, it's a,
15's pretty good.
yeah. For you, Fisher, it's a bit confusing what you see for the information. Terranad can add a little bit because it's arcane writing and arcane information. Well, with that information, I think that divine magic was used to conceive her, but not in the way that the book says.
Interesting.
She is magical. She's just not godly.
Well, it is a divine dragon that would have gifted the thing, so that would still be divine energy if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So that still leads towards that. Any other information?
I assume not.
She just has a divine.
Yeah. The roll is definitely not high enough to give you a lot of information. There's a lot of information that you see in front of you that you're not sure how. You're not sure how to make sense of it. The wand allows you to see what type of energy it is, and there's definitely divine intervention in all of this.
Can you copy it and show it to Terry? Oh wait, we don't want to bring Terry out. Can we copy it and show it to Remy? Or the wizard?
Well,
is it like information that we can copy?
Yeah, sure. You could probably copy it since you didn't roll with advantage or disadvantage. I would allow someone else to look at it. Without increasing the DC, I mean.
Mm-hmm. So I tell her what I was able to figure out, and then there is some stuff here that's a little over my head that I can't quite piece together. If you are okay with it, if I was able to get the wizard to look at this, he might be able to piece together more.
I can try and have him found. I believe he decided to find a priestess of leisure.
He said something about a bath.
Yes.
Could also
the priest and priestesses of leisure. Very small god, but very pleasure oriented. They used to take care of relaxing body care before the war.
Audience is struggling with his filter right now, but it's succeeding.
We can also always bring it up tomorrow.
Tomorrow, I'll look at Fisher like we don't know how long we're here for. Tomorrow could be risky. Well, we're pretty sure. I guess we're here for
tomorrow morning.
Yeah, but we also don't know what could change. Like things could be risky because we know that we were supposed to have to do a mad dash to the portal, so we don't know what could. Today might be our last day to do things off task.
Well, it would probably be a good idea for you to be there tomorrow for the last meeting of this. I have received the book that you found. It is very helpful. And I was made aware that you asked for someone to use divining magic and find any ways that the aberration would have to follow you. The reason that this wizard hasn't found you yet is simply because I asked him to give me the report he had. It will be part of tomorrow's meeting. But it is very interesting information, and although I do not think it would be wise to try and go through the main gate, as you suggested, when the barrier falls, it does give us two possibilities. The gate at the bottom of the castle, or the siege tunnel. We do have enough resource to make sure that additional layer of protection are there to make sure that someone could make it through the tunnels.
Okay.
I will still think about this, but I think we will use both ways of getting out of the castle.
Alright, well, I guess we'll be at the meeting tomorrow. We may go find the wizard beforehand, but we'll definitely
We'll be
at the
there
meeting
on
tomorrow.
time, bright and early.
Yeah, what was the time again?
Yeah.
Well, the barrier will not last beyond noon. So to have
Okay.
enough time to prepare, I think we should reconvene in the throne room at 8 o'clock.
Sounds good. I'm an early morning riser, so not a problem for me.
Alright.
Alright, we appreciate you helping us out with this, and I think we can at least confirm that you are not a half god, if that gives you any peace of mind, or not peace of mind.
Well, it is probably better that I am not. Learning that I am, but never was taught how to use these latent power. And this hour right now would feel like a heavy burden.
Alright, well, again, we appreciate your time. Actually, before, do you know where the protector's at?
I can call for him if you want.
I want to take him off his task. I can go find him if he's doing something. It's not a huge deal.
I'm not sure where he is right now. I know that he has been spending a lot of time with his brother
Alright.
and
You know what?
preparing for tomorrow. We are
I will
trying
go
to evacuate.
try- I will go try and find him and his brother. That actually works as well. I'll ask around. It's not a big deal.
Well, to try the main courtyard.
Okay.
It is a advantageous landing place for a dragon.
Okay. Fisher, let's go.
We out.
Alright. I'm like, who better to read the divine signature of a dragon than a divine
And that's
dragon?
a dragon. Huh. Yeah, not a bad idea.
And we could also wand the other dude and see if they have matching signatures or different signatures.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Using my brain out here, Fisher. It exists.
It's good to know. Sometimes there are questions, but
From inside of you, Fisher, you hear Terranad say, "Oh yes, brainless is thinking. That's dangerous."
I might have to come up with a new nickname.
Oh well. We already have one. Tool.
Fisher snorts.
All right. Yep. So I guess we're gonna go find. Yep, we're gonna go find the dude.
Alright. So while Fisher and audience are looking for the dragon and the divine dragonborn, Remy, is there something you want to do?
Well, yeah, it's like I was saying, since Fisher had like other responsibilities, and essentially Raimi is babysitting a bucket. I mean, he might as well take a peek around the lab.
Sure, why not?
Nobody else is there.
Well, that you're aware of. Invisible tiny servant, invisible servant, a gargoyle.
Wouldn't that be an interesting? Just like, oh, more gargoyles.
I remember
We didn't get
those.
enough of those a few chapters ago.
All right. All right. Okay. So, well, investigation. Do you want to orient your search in a specific direction, or are you just rummaging through things, see what you can find?
I think he would initially focus on like the things that may have come loose during everything, and then work his way toward like anything that might have been like stored in like a desk or what have you.
Okay. Make your investigation roll.
Might as well use my lantern. I'd have no reason not to.
Yeah. Especially since Fisher rolled so well to maintain the machine, you didn't have to use a whole lot of magic and are now in need to recover from injuries. So, it's not like I'd planned a lot.
Not like I planned anything or anything, Baka.
Right, so
But anyway, there'll be a 26.
okay. So, of course, you're rummaging through a pile of magical debris, looking into damaged furniture in case there's an opening that exposes a hidden compartment or something like this. Maybe a few scrolls on the floor. A lot of this got tornadoed around. So who knows? Maybe you got a good spell in there somewhere. Well, there is a variety of things, of course. Gems and sorcerers or gems and wizard are always a good match. So you find a decent amount of them laying about the floor. Some of them you recognize. No, okay, so that's used for identification. That's a pearl. So a lot of them you are probably sure are just components. You do find one that has a floating rune inside of it. Um, it just seems to have fallen on the floor and slipped under a desk. So the gem itself is blue, and the rune inside of it is a bit of a dull red. And it seems to be floating inside the gem.
Probably a heavy ask considering how old or like how much time could pass and like conventions can change. Is the rune recognizable in any way?
Make an Arcana roll.
The 17.
Takes a little while, but you examine it in from various angle. You watch it just float inside of it, and you know, it does make you think about teleportation magic, but not exactly. Not physical teleportation. It sort of feel like it would bring you somewhere else, but only while the magic lasts. You'd have physical form somewhere else, but once the magic ends, you'd be yanked back where you are.
So kind of like a pop in, pop out.
It's a bit hard to tell in the sense that you're not sure what would be the limit of this. Looking at the rune, it feels like that element of elastic. You'd be able to throw something and it would come back. You're not sure if it's actually you or just an image of you, meaning that it's even more worthless in the sense that you wouldn't be able to project yourself in a room, grab something, and take it back with you when you're arriving. But you would have enough matter to open a door.
Yeah, guess you'll hold on to it for the time being and look at it later, or look more closely at it later.
The reason why you sort of have that feeling that, okay, I think it's something like this, it's because there actually is a gem that's from your time that is much more useful, that's literally creates another copy of you, which is there physical, and you can actually grab something, interact with it, and even bring it back. So this score is it feels like you're watching version 0.9 of that object right now.
Well, there's even use for a prototype version.
You rummage through a few other things, and you find this looks like a laceration on the side of a scroll case. Look inside. Try to pull it apart just slightly. I mean, they look like minor spell scroll. You'd say inside, just peeking through the laceration on the side. You wouldn't be able to extract the scroll from it, but you think there's something like between 2 and 3 scroll inside from level 1 to level 2 in spell level.
I mean, hey, Fisher might have use for them if he doesn't already have them.
Keep on looking through things. There's there's one thing you're really not sure what it is. You recognize it as something that fell during the hurricane moment. It's a ball that's another one. That's roughly the size of a coconut. And it's bubbling inside. There's because of the bubble, you can recognize that okay, it's liquid inside. And it has a deep dark green color inside. And it's slightly bubbling. You remember that it was sitting on top of a pedestal with a hand clasping it. Was probably knocked over during everything that happened, and the ball just rolled. Without identifying, without detecting magic, it's hard to know if it's actually magical, but it's probably because honestly, it feels like it's carbonated, but it's starting from the center, and the bubble are going toward the edge and disappearing when they touch the edge. It's not supposed to do that.
This one he might take the time to identify just to see.
Okay. While you're looking for things or after?
Uh, Actually, still do it after the fact. He doesn't actually know how much time he has in here.
That's why I asked the question. All right. There's only one last thing that you find that sort of draws your attention, and you're not exactly sure what to think of it. You'd call it a useless object, but it catches your attention because when you see it, it looks like it's caught in a energy flux. It seems to be deploying and shrinking back, deploying and shrinking back, deploying and shrinking back. It never goes to fully deploying, and the energy seems to just stay there, pulse a little bit, and then half deploy, and then goes back in. Judging from what you can see, and if you want, you can do a perception roll to see if you can see more as it's partially deploying and before it goes back to what it is. Do you want to make a perception?
May as well.
Okay.
Okay. 0 or not. Actually, I guess I should have asked, is my lantern still active while I'm making this roll? Or
How long does it stay active?
I think you said 10 minutes, or I think it's written 10 minutes.
No, it wouldn't be active. You'd have to use another.
All right, yeah, using another charge. It's I should have asked before I rolled 2 dice. So, but in which case that is going to be a 28.
Okay. The thing is that you're not sure about the full size of it because it seems to be deploying to the size of um, a a small beach ball and then going back to the size of a large prune, not dried prune. But it's made of wood and it looks like it wants to deploy into some sort of cabin. Or maybe a hut, you're not sure. But not an energy hut, an actual hut. Or an actual cabin. There's elements of wood, there's elements of thatch. You think you recognize a window or a small door. And then it sort of probably took a hit. This is why it sort of has that
I guess cautiously you'll get closer to it. Like, especially at the points where it's like the energy is discharged, maybe just kind of like poke one of his fingers at it just to see if it hurts.
Okay. So when you see it just go, you try and poke it.
Again, just seeing just in case if it hurts when it's discharging like that, or if it hurts regardless.
Okay, so you wait for it to have this moment of it blows up once and it goes back and you have the okay, let's touch it. Make a dexterity saving throw.
Let's see, that's an 18 on the die.
That's pretty good.
So that's 27.
Okay. So
or excuse me, 28.
So you have this brief moment of let's poke it. And this voice inside of your head saying, it expands, don't stay there. And you poke it and you immediately take your finger off and you run. Fast enough to avoid the shock wave of this thing fully deploying and crushing a whole lot of thing inside of that room because it completely deploys into a fully grown cabin made of wood with a thatched wood. It is large enough to have a small kitchen inside. There are 2 bedrooms, each one with 2 bunk beds. So a total of 4, 8 people can sleep comfortably inside of it. And a living area, with a fireplace. And large cushions. It's a portable hunting cabin, you want to say? It's slightly larger than your tiny hut.
Randy's just kind of like dumbfounded, like it's like a tiny house.
Yeah, tiny house. So tiny hut.
You sort of have that moment of, hey, I know of a spell that does something much bigger than this. Maybe that's where it came from. Maybe that's the first version.
What would it be? Insert wizard name here is Cantankerous Cabin.
Yeah, this one. Okay.
maybe comfy cabin would be comfortable cabin.
Cozy cabin.
Cozy rolls off the tongue better.
I mean, if you figure a way to fold it back, he's probably not gonna miss it.
I mean, maybe won't say no to a cabin. Easier than carrying around heavy tents. But I guess he'll look around the cabin to see if there's like maybe probably wouldn't be a button, but probably would be like a rune or
Make an Arcana roll.
okay, apparently this die loves the number 18. 26.
Well, yeah. With something is with a good roll like this, you completely eclipse any civilian that has a decent amount of proficiency. Well, you're starting to be high level. You're starting to recognize those things. So yeah, you look around.
I'm one level off from just having a flat rate, but
So you look around, and yes, you look at this, and you say, okay. Usually there's something around this, and you look around the door of it. Okay. Um, the door is slightly ajar. Maybe that's why it was just.
the door was left open.
Yeah, sure, why not? You take the knob and you close the door, and you just see it. You're not sure how it works. You're happy you weren't inside of it, just in case, but
You'll definitely have to identify it later to make sure that it's possible to close that door while being inside of it, but not going to worry about that right now. Although actually, now that it's properly like shrunk, like what does it actually like look like, or in its portable form?
it looks like a small wooden ball the size of a large prune.
Okay, so the prune is in fact the
The size is accurate.
yeah, like walks over, picks it up, probably gingerly because he still doesn't know how it activates. Although I guess if we wanted to go by Dragon Ball logic, like
Yeah, maybe. Hey, hi. Someone said hi in the chat. Sully Milo. Hi. Well, unfortunately, Sully, you are arriving, I'd say, around 10-minute maximum to the end of the stream, so sorry. But hey, it's a pleasure to have you with us.
But with that, like after presumably finding, I'm assuming that's all that's really like caught his eye while he was in there.
Well, yeah, you're starting to be there for a little while, and you're hearing people move outside. You're sort of having this little warning at the back of your head saying, maybe it's starting to be a little bit dangerous to stay here. Guards, things like this. Maintenance crew, who knows. You can push it, just in case, but that little voice is starting to appear at the back of your mind.
I mean, you could theoretically extend it a little bit longer. It just means you won't be able to concentrate on anything for a bit. Yep. He'll actually briefly pick up the bucket of Toby or the pail of Toby, and then use invisibility on himself.
Okay.
That way, if anybody walks in, he can just tiptoe out
Okay.
and stop what he's doing and tiptoe out.
Sully, if you have a question, audience and Fisher are waiting for their turn to do something, so I'm sure they will be very glad to answer it. All right, and so you give it another go. One last
Yep,
attempt.
just like one more sweep in the. I guess like especially if there's like any at this point any cabins or desks that he hasn't like looked through in this laboratory, since maybe not necessarily for stuff, but maybe like information or at least maybe what they were like working on, but not like nothing maybe too specific though, since he isn't really looking for anything in particular.
Okay.
Oof, glad I'm not doing that first. Uh, that is going to be a 23.
23. Okay. So you look around just a little bit, trying to figure out, what might he has been, what things might he have been looking for, working on when he got interrupted by all of you. And there's this one experiment that you think you found that, okay, he was definitely working on it. And it would make sense that he's trying to figure out a way to use this right now, because it looks like he was trying to figure a way to teleport people a fair distance from here. He didn't get very far in his research, but the interesting element of this is that you find the object he was using as a reference to start all of his research. It is a small handkerchief, and you've seen this used by street performers. It's actually a handkerchief for wizard who don't want to waste time learning sleight of hand things, because if you put it on top of an object, it actually sucks it in, and you can retrieve it later. But the object must be of maximum equal size to the handkerchief, which is roughly the size of a fully open hand.
Well, we already know that Raimi's a big fan of like hiding things. Lightly licks the dagger that's still in his beak.
Okay.
Like, sure, why not? Another weird thing to add to Raimi's inventory.
So maybe this is where that object started. Who knows? But in your time, it is commonly used by magicians that want to cheat and not have to learn how to actually hide something.
Or, cheat commoners out of their money because, like, oh yeah, under which cup is the ball?
Find the handkerchief under which there is the coin. Ah, wrong handkerchief. Sorry. There's a wide variety of things. Well, that's what you find. That's the additional thing you find. You can keep pushing, but every time you do, there is an increased chance that you might get caught. And yes, the invisibility has given a reduction to this, but I am still increasing it slightly every time you decide to push.
Yeah, I think by this point, it's especially since he doesn't really know who he keeps on staff. Like, And plus, I don't think the pail is particularly silent. So I think at this point, Rainy will just kind of like pick up the pail and start, but making his way out.
All right.
And probably bring him to his and Tobiashi's room.
Okay. All right. So maybe just a few minutes with audience and Fisher. Sully, by the way, your question. Usually when I create a Dragonborn name, I go with the fact that they describe in the player manual that many Dragonborn names do not have a lot of vowel inside of them. So it creates a name that is harsh sounding and sometimes a little bit difficult to pronounce. You can just play with syllables like this. And for some reason, it very often feels like a dragon name. Right. So, big question. Fisher, do you feel like...
I go to bed. I gotta wake up in 4 hours and 19 minutes.
That's why I was asking. All right. Well, I don't mind finishing this here if you want to go to bed right now.
That would be appreciated.
All right. All right, then. In that case, we will take this back up next episode as Audience and Fisher go find the dragon and the Dragonborn. So with this, I will start the sound of a crackling fire and crickets. This is how we always end the episode. It's relaxing, I hear. So, with this, thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for watching. Hope you had a pleasant, whatever part of the day it is, wherever you are. When I... Sorry, I was reading the new message at the same time I was trying to say goodbye. It was making a weird mix. Thank you for being here this week. Hope you will be there next week, next Wednesday, for the live broadcast, next Friday for the rebroadcast of the live broadcast. And if you want to look at someone creating a map using Wonder Draft, tomorrow on Thursdays, I will be continuing the map that we started, which is a lot bigger than I anticipated, but I think we're making good time, and I think we will be over in maybe 2 to 3 episodes. It's the largest map we've made so far, so who knows.
I gotta go. I'll see you guys.
Bye.
No, we're just wrapping up.
Yeah.
See you guys.
Bye. So yeah, tomorrow, Friday, or Wednesday. See you next week, and we will be trying to raid someone if we can. I've been trying to find a raiding channel, a channel I can raid at the end of the Friday rebroadcast. There wasn't a lot of people playing recently, but maybe a little more have started playing or restarted playing because it's summer. So who knows? Maybe we'll find someone that's interesting and live at that moment. They gotta have the 2 elements. If not, Tobiashi might be there, so we'll raid him. Yeah, that's it. That's everything. So thank you for watching. Hope you'll be there next week. Remember, you can support the stream if you want. That's very much appreciated. By following us, leaving a like, leave a comment, Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. You can do more if you want by making a donation, becoming a Patreon, subscribing on Twitch. All of these things, there are information below the window for links and everything like this. Yes, when you make a donation, it's not written Drakenmemoria, it's written Jean-Sébastien Charbonneau, if I remember correctly. That's my actual name, but since composite names are weird with English-speaking people, I never mind if someone calls me Draken. But yes, for donation, it really is my name that's there, and not the name of the channel. And if you can't do any of those, you don't have the money, you don't like following, there's a very free thing you can do that's nearly effortless, and that's spreading the word of this channel. Helps so obviously. So, thank you, see you next week, and as always, stay safe and stay healthy. Good night.
Good night.